On this episode of Star Trek Universe, we are heading back to Deep Space Nine and lightly catching up with a couple of old friends as we review Lower Decks 306, Hear All, Trust Nothing, right after these words from our mystery sponsors.
Welcome to Star Trek Universe, the podcast where you get to listen in as two lifelong friends chat about Star Trek like they've been doing since they were little bitty. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I am David C. Robertson.
I am happy to be here on the podcast with you today because, Dave, we finally reached this episode that we've been very excited about. Where Lower Decks, the crew of the Cerritos, finally gets to see DS9. The first glimpse of DS9 in canon since the finale.
I've seen a lot of people saying that, but it's not true because we did that flashback to when Mariner was stationed on DS9.
Yeah, but wasn't that during the Dominion War, she said?
I think so.
Yeah, but we episode too. But we saw it. I'm saying this is the first time since this is the first post finale things we've learned of DS9. Is what I'm saying, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Which we didn't learn much, but yes, you're right. There was another scene where they referenced the previous time period. I gotta say, I think the first half of this episode was kind of bad as a Lower Decks episode. And I think it was almost because it was too reverent of DS9 to the point that they kind of let DS9 do all the work for the first half of the episode. It was just reference to DS9, not really a joke, just let's show more DS9. And I liked it because I'm sitting there watching it with my niece, and I've been watching all these episodes with my niece lately, and I could tell this because she didn't think anything was funny for the first 15 minutes because it was all just deep references. Very funny to have Rutherford say, I want to sit here and have a heart to heart with a junior journalist or whatever. A junior reporter. It's my niece knows nothing of that, so it's it felt very much just reference, which this show does a lot of, but normally it's references within jokes. It felt a little referencey, which as a lover of DS9, I appreciated it and enjoyed, but it almost felt like they gave a lot of love to DS9 in this episode.
Yes.
Even the way they recreated the sets was with more detail, it felt than normal for this show. They recreated the lighting and it was so well done. But it felt a little so much referential that it was not as funny of an episode of Lower Decks, I guess.
Yeah, see, I kind of disagree. I think it was, and I see what you're saying. For someone who hasn't seen Deep Space Nine, it's going to fall flat for him, I think.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm getting
at. But, the whole Mariner storyline, for the most part, was very, very Lower Decks.
Yeah.
And for the most part, Tendi and Rutherford's, whole bit with that Orion,
the pirate,
jack off.
And getting to see Tendi go off. That's, I think, where the episode really warmed up was when Mariner goes off and starts starts stunning all of the crewmates and all of the women at the salon, and so good. It was so good. And then Tendi kind of at the same moment going off and becoming full on pirate.
Right. But yeah, I can't really review it on those terms though, because I am a huge DS9 fan, and I felt like it, I loved Shax and Kira, arguing over who saved who and when. I liked that. It absolutely felt like Kira, because every time we saw someone from the Resistance, they were always having those kind of conversations. It was just cranked up to 11 to Lower Decks style. And I loved that. And I think Shax really got a little chance to shine here. I still loved the bit about circling the station, and admiring the pylons.
Well, and this thing, I knew that there was a joke we saw in the trailer, and when it happened, I thought that's going to be the extent of the joke. But they went on and basically did the entire opening of DS9 almost, the music and all, and I loved it. As a DS9 fan, I was like, this is so nice to see. But I'm sitting there looking over at my niece, who's I don't know what's going on, but this.
I feel like that's a failure on your part.
Well, sure. She just has she is just now getting to the age where she's interested a little bit in watching a little Star Trek. She started with Prodigy, actually. And now she's like, what is that? Well, Prodigy, Lower Decks, I see these same icons. What is this the same thing? And I'm starting to explain it to her.
Yeah. So yeah, I loved the episode for the most part. I hated Mesk. I hated the pirate, the quote unquote pirate. And I knew immediately, like, as soon as he showed that little tool, I was just like, okay, yeah, that's going to be a thing he doesn't actually know how to use because he's not a real pirate. He's a poser, and that's like Chekhov's gun, and she's going to use that at the end to get him out of some kind of scrape. You know, like, that's kind of just like, and it was funny when he was like, I've never even been to our planet. I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I've only read, like, everything I know about Orion pirates is from novels, and not good ones, the ones with boobs on the cover.
Yeah, it's really good.
Like, that was really good, but I saw it coming from a mile away, and the character in of itself leading up to that point was just so annoying. It was like the most, but everything else in the episode I really enjoyed. So, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it overall. I just felt like they were almost too reverent of the original material to make a really solid Lower Decks thing. But you know, in the end, but by the end, I was smiling ear to ear though. Once they got to where like Tendi was doing her thing and Mariner was doing her thing, and then you know, Quark getting. I thought it was a little over the top though. 76% of his franchise. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That feels like too much.
It is. But I love that Kira was like, well, one, once again, you know, Quark has to get screwed over at the end, you know?
Yeah.
And when the Karima show up, and like, first of all, I loved seeing Quark still all up in his feelings over the Dominion War, because he like masked it as like, you know, being angry that the Dominion were killing off his customers. But if, you know, for those of us who watched DS9 and remember watching the Dominion War arc play out, we remember seeing Quark getting very emotional and having, you know, a really negative feelings about war in general because of all the bullshit that went on before with the Cardassian occupation. But like seeing people, you know, seeing his friends get killed, you know, Jadzia being one of those. You know, his nephew lost a leg. Like, Quark has seen some shit, and it actually felt like a proper extension of his character here, and I loved seeing him get particularly heated with these guys.
Yeah, I did too. And of anyone on the ship who would, it was interesting that it was Quark that did get so heated. Yeah. I liked it a lot.
And of course, he ripped off the Karima. Of course he did.
Yeah, for sure.
And the twist that they weren't kidnapping him, they were arresting him. That felt like it was ripped straight out of a DS9 episode.
Yeah, it did. And the thing that felt straight ripped out for me was when he says, they get him back. Tendi gets him back. They put him on the ship, and they're like, wait, of course you'd be happy with this. Wouldn't you rather be poor than in jail? He's like, no.
Yeah.
It's like, you still don't get me, Kira.
And dude, when that, I will say this, and it's kind of a negative, but it's not really. It's just me missing when the revelation happened that he was being arrested instead of being kidnapped. God, I missed having Odo smugly smirk at him and go, you know, like, oh God, I missed it so much.
Yeah, that would have been very nice, for sure. Who was the actor playing Mesk? Do you know? I recognized the voice like really strongly. Some comedian, and I could not place it.
I didn't pay attention.
I've even tried to look.
I didn't pay attention or even look at it.
I've been looking at the internet, and I can't find it anywhere. I'm like looking at all these. Lower Decks has too many characters, and I'm like, it's some comedian, and I just cannot. I could not place the voice.
I can look it up real quick.
That would be great, because I was kicking myself, like, because I thought I know that voice, I just don't know from what.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention. Let me just look.
It's probably a memory alpha or something.
Probably. Of course, now I can't find it anywhere.
Yeah, I was doing this. That's the thing. I've been sitting here looking for it. I found it. It's Adam Pally. He was on that show Happy Endings.
Okay.
He was one of those guys on that show, and he's been on a bunch of things since then. But that was the thing that I know him from most. But yeah, sorry.
No, like, you're good. I don't even know that. I never saw that show, I guess.
Like I just looked up his IMDb to see what he's most known for. He was the cameraman in Iron Man 3. Who has the Tony Stark guy. He has the Tony Stark beard in Iron Man 3.
Oh yeah, I just looked him up.
Yeah, I don't surely know. I can't
stand that guy.
Oh, I love that guy. That makes sense why you didn't like the character then.
I've seen it, dude. Yeah, probably. Like I don't remember what I've seen. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff here and there, but like I've never liked him. I've just always went, that guy.
I liked him so much in Happy Endings. Happy Endings was a good show. I enjoyed that show a lot, and I liked him a lot on it. And so, like, I've transposed my love for him onto all of his characters. And even hearing him here, I was like, I know that voice. I know I like that voice, but I can't think of where he's from.
I watched him specifically in some movie where maybe it was with Anna Kendrick, but they were like, I can't remember who it was, but they were dating, and I couldn't stand him.
I get it.
Yeah. Maybe that's the way I was picking up on the voice.
Yeah, no, for sure. I do think he plays the intentionally annoying guy well, which on Happy Endings was a show where he had 2 or 3 seasons to like sort of get past that a little bit. So he's doing the intentionally annoying thing, but it's obviously like a bit, you know. But if you just hear his voice, so like they have him as these kinds of characters a lot, where he's like, "Look at me, I'm the annoying guy over here doing the thing that annoys the other character," and then eventually, Anyway, but I do like that actor, and so I could not place him though.
Yeah, but yeah, it was great to hear Armin coming back, and it was great to hear Nana Visitor come back, and dude, Armin said that he wore the teeth in the booth.
Oh, that's great.
He said the Quark voice does not make sense without the teeth. You can't do it without the teeth.
That's awesome. That's really, really wonderful. Yeah, as soon as I heard Kira's voice, I was just like, oh, there she is. There's Nana, like, doing their thing. I assumed they were coming back, but I didn't remember. I'm sure we covered it on a news episode, but I'd forgotten that they were coming back for sure.
We just knew that we were going to see some people. Oh, yeah.
That's awesome.
We didn't cover it, I know, but
I think we got to see Morn as well.
I was just very happy with the episode.
One line of the episode I hated.
Sure.
Just a blanket hatred for this line. When Boimler's won all this money, they traded in for a coupon for next time, which very Boimler to accept that. And then
it wasn't a coupon for next time.
It was double the value of.
It was double the value gift card for it was double the value Quark bucks for the gift shop, which of course Boimler would have taken so he can get some cool merch to geek out over.
Right.
Because Starfleet doesn't use money anyway.
Yes. But when he said that, Starfleet doesn't use money anyway, the Ferengi, who works on a station probably with a number of like Federation clientele, went, what? Like he had never heard that they don't use money anyway. Like that was new information to him. That was stupid. Unless he's like fresh off the boat from Ferenginar, I guess.
No, I enjoyed it, and here's why. Here's why I enjoyed it. One, we've never seen this guy before. Maybe he is a newbie. But the other thing is like Starfleet has always been so, like, the Star Trek, I should say, has always been so iffy about what their actual currency is in Starfleet in the Federation. Like, Riker will walk in and, like, be like, where's that latinum you owe me, Quark? You know? And has no problem, like, storing the latinum in his quarters and be like, oh, cool, I'm going to go to the station. I got me some latinum. And it feels like, you know, like a lot of Starfleet officers are always at the Dabo tables winning latinum. Like they have no problem, you know, using money on the station.
Sure.
So I found it to be a fun contradiction that is in Star Trek anyway. Like,
sure,
all these, like this idea that all these Starfleet officers have been winning, and this guy is just like, they don't? Why are they taking our money?
Right. That's a fine meta joke, but like the actual character logic makes no sense to me. If he's been working at Quarks for any amount of time at all, or even like at any Quarks, and he's working at the flagship Quarks here. I mean,
yeah.
Original,
I see what you're saying.
It just bothered me because it just seemed like if you're dealing with Federation people and your whole idea is profit, you would understand at least it's some measure of how they think about money.
Yeah, which though again, I do really enjoy the idea that even people in the even people who deal with the Federation in that world don't know exactly what their their deal is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so I love that we get a confirmation from Rutherford that he thinks no less of Tendi for being a pirate. So like I like that we got a little more of that. I loved when she pulled the tooth out of the guy.
Mm-hmm. It has a tooth extractor. I loved the tool. I just loved her all out, like running through the ship, taking them down. That was just so much fun.
Yeah, I really like the Tendi becomes a badass kind of storylines. Like I really like Tendi centric stuff.
I liked the Ritos shirts, which were definitely a disco reference. Yeah,
we've seen those before.
Oh, have we? I guess I hadn't caught them.
Absolutely. For like 2 years. But yeah, like dude, am I crazy, or was it like when like the Mariner plot was fun and I enjoyed that they were like, I loved a salon. Were they Hemingway?
Yeah.
I loved all of that. But like, was I the only person that just saw like a ton of red flags for the Jennifer character? She was like, dude, I brought you here so that you'd tear him a new asshole. Like, dude, just get better friends, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Like,
no, it was definitely like a weird sort of like bitchy thing to say and do
like
to your
this
friends.
Is some toxic shit.
It is, but it also somehow fits with Mariner's whole aesthetic. Like I can absolutely see someone that has a hard time being assertive, like Jennifer apparently. Like wanting someone in their life to be assertive for them. That's a thing that happens.
Yeah.
Also, so dumb. They were like, they call you Jenny, and she was like, oh, it's just a thing from the Academy. No, it's just short for Jennifer. Like, I get that like maybe that's what they called you at the Academy, but like, that doesn't require an explanation.
Yeah, dude. Like, I watched this last night, and then we finished watching this episode, and then we watched 3 episodes of the latest season of Harley Quinn. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I kind of felt like, am I living in a simulation, and did an angry conservative write my night? Because I feel like I have just watched like 4 episodes of extremely toxic lesbian relationships.
Hey, that's just called equality, man. We're finally getting to the point where we can just have toxic relationships, and lesbians can be toxic too, Dave. Lesbians can be toxic too.
Oh, I know.
Believe me, I have a lot of experience in lesbian relationships. What?
Sadly, I do, but but yeah, man. Like I don't know. It was just kind of funny because it was just like Mariner and Jennifer, and then it just went straight over to Harley and Ivy, and I'm like, I'm feeling weird about tonight, man.
Yeah, I have still yet to see any of Harley Quinn. I watched like the first episode, I think maybe, and I really.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah, I'd like to see it.
It is so good, man. You got to check that out. There actually is a solid overarching story.
Yeah, that's what I hear, and just the little bit I've seen is really funny. I have a hard time watching comedies if I'm not covering them for a podcast, apparently.
Yeah.
Because lately, I feel like my life is very comedy centric because we've been doing She-Hulk and this, and so those lining up have been like a lot of comedy. Luckily, I have House of the Dragon to bring that back to like a depressing place.
Yeah. But Alan Tudyk as the Joker, man.
That is a good choice.
and Alan Tudyk as Clayface.
Nice. No, I didn't know. I actually didn't know either one of those. I think I'd heard the Alan Tudyk as the Joker before.
Yeah,
and I'd seen the first episode, so I've heard the Joker, and it was a good.
Giancarlo Esposito as Lex Luthor.
Ooh,
I mean,
that's
the cast
choice.
is phenomenal.
That's choice.
It's so good.
That's really choice. I will absolutely check it out for sure. Well, anything else on this Ritos episode?
Yeah, I love the line, "Without me, they would probably get lost and end up in a mirror universe with Smiley." I loved I call this piece the Kobayashi Maroon. There's no right way to dance it.
I like that too. I really liked when she started firing at her friends. No, it was before she started firing at her friends, but she looked at her and she said, "Go destroy them."
During the salon, I really liked, "I wasn't in the Enterprise. The Enterprise was in me all along."
I really liked the we have a goodwill gift for them, and then it was just made very clear that it was just all alcohol.
Yeah. Oh, and of course, it's always something with the wormhole, because it totally is.
Good stuff. Well, in their defense, that is like why that show like that's why the station's there, and like what what a lot of the drama is surrounding.
Yep. So this episode was called "Hear All, Trust Nothing," and that is Ferengi Rule of Acquisition Rule 190.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah. And by the way, I love that Quark took that tooth at the end and said, I can't remember what it was. What was it? Rule of Acquisition number 9.
Yeah.
Something about opportunity plus instinct equals profit. Something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right.
I love that he was just like, yoink. Mm-hmm.
No one else wants it. No one lays claim. I get it. It's mine.
Yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of this episode. I really did, except for Mesk. I didn't like him. He was a hot Mesk.
Yes, indeed. He was a hot Mesk. Mm.
Oh.
Yep. I enjoyed it a lot. I did have that sort of just like realization as it was going through the first 10 minutes or so felt like this is just showing us DS9 with very few actual setup or jokes. It was like a lot, and in classic Star Trek fashion, which is like the long, slow, and they did interject it with jokes. I'm not saying they didn't at all, but like it just felt a lot more reverential, I guess. Reverent is the word I'm looking for. It felt a lot more reverent and a little less silly, and which is fine. It's good. I love the show. I love DS9 so much that like I am the guy who will sit on the couch and just enjoy how well they recreated the sets and the lighting and everything. When they went into that conference room and the lighting was just perfect and coming off of the table and coming, they put a lot of love into that. It almost felt like a different animation style because they went so deep, making it look so much like DS9.
Yeah. And apparently, what's her face? The girl, I can't remember people's names. The lady that plays Mariner got the script and was like, why am I not in this? I am a huge DS9 fan. This is not okay.
Why do I not get to go to DS9?
Right. Like she's like, I get my little side mission, but I don't get to go to DS9. And she, like Mike McMahon like signed into the Zoom mission and she just like railed into him. And he was like, this is a TV show. You don't get to do things because you want to. And then he like eventually relented and wrote her into the ending at Quark's bar. And I loved her bit of like basically blackmailing Quark into like erasing her bar tab with that chip, that holodeck chip of her of Kira's body with Quark's head on it.
That's from that episode. Where we see that, or I don't know if it's Kira's body. We see a body with Quark's head at some point.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it's totally her body because he was running around because that asshole alien wanted to have sex with Kira in the holodeck. Quark is running around the whole episode after Kira with like a holo imager trying to take pictures of her from different angles.
Right. I do not remember the details of that episode, but I will never forget the shot, like going up from the floor, tracing up Kira's body and landing on his face. That is trauma that will never leave me.
Yeah. And he goes, I've been waiting for you.
Oh, it's good.
We had a little piece of feedback from Tim Castillo.
Hey, Tim.
Last week.
Sweet.
And he didn't get it in before we recorded, so
that's cool. What's Tim
he says they dropped in the brainworms. And I just wrote a whole speech about cameos and such in the MCU. I'm such a dumb fanboy. But the show itself is really good, and that was the whole point of that. Cameos and Easter eggs are the cherry on top in this series and others. Seriously, do I keep showing up as Timothy? How do I change this? Timothy is the dead self I left behind in the recesses of my brain. And signed it Tim Castillo. So, there you go, Tim. Hey. I told you we'd read it on the show.
Hey, thanks for writing in, Tim. Yay. So, I love you, Stu, but someone other than Stu wrote in. Yay!
Yeah, and you know what? Stu hasn't made it in yet.
Oh,
I don't know what's happened. Stu, what are you doing?
We're actually recording in the first half of the week since the episode drops, so, that's abnormally fast for us.
Yeah. Stu's like, I got a couple weeks.
Yeah, exactly. well, guys, I have to leave and go play a gig, so, We'll pick it up next week with more Lower Decks talk.
We will.
Yes, we will. Loving it.
We will. We will. Come on, Gilbert O'Sullivan.
Yeah.
Anyway, bye.
Just keep circling, guys.
Joel Untrue, live long and prosper, all the things.
Thank you for listening to the Star Trek Universe Podcast, a Stranded Panda production. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv for his web videos. If you'd like to hear more from Matthew Carroll, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast or listen to his music. Just search for Matthew Carroll anywhere you get music.